Let's talk some sports, baby.
Taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by Jones.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thank you for spending some of your time with us tonight. As a reminder to all our podcast listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube with each show segment available. Head on over. You like what you hear? We'd appreciate your subscription. What's going on, guys? Big show tonight, right?
Yeah, great show coming at you. About as excited as I've been for a show in a while. But with that being said, let's get it going. You know what it is. It's the drink, it's the beer, and it's the wisdom. Let's go, fellas.
Let's talk some sports, baby. You know what it is. Let's roll, baby.
Let's go. In episode 81, Zion exits the bubble, Rondo has thumb surgery, and Ben Simmons moves to power forward. Plus, we delve into some NFL players that are getting some big raises. But first, we begin in the NFL tonight with a big report out of Washington. Just days after the Redskins formally announced the team will be searching for a new name, the Washington Post dropped a bombshell report in which 15 women who previously worked for Washington have alleged sexual assault and harassment and verbal abuse by scouts and members of the team's office. The names are mostly high brass that work close with owner Dan Snyder. However, neither former GM Bruce Allen or owner Dan Snyder have been directly linked. The allegations range from inappropriate comments, unwanted physical advances, to even, quote, selling access to cheerleaders during trips and photo shoots. This report drops at a tumultuous time in the franchise under new on-field leadership and looking to rename and rebrand. The NFL has hired an attorney to investigate the claims before proceeding with any action. So, Jay, there's a lot to unpack here, right? So what are your thoughts on this report?
Well, it's funny you should say that. I told you this earlier. I didn't read the report because you have to subscribe to the Washington Post to be able to read any of their content. So I'm relying on what the ESPN report that we have, and also one of the local newspapers. I believe it's the Richmond Times-Dispatch that I read some of what they had on it. But anyways, there can be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is terrible. And when you look at what transpired earlier in the week with them making the announcement that, hey, we're going to change this name. The Redskins are no more, although until they give me a new name, I said this to Drink earlier, I'm going to refer to them as the Redskins until they give me another name. So hopefully we don't lose viewers because of that, but, strange world we live in today. But this is terrible, and it's terrible on all the fronts, and it speaks to a culture that is poisonous beyond the field of football, because the Redskins, ever since Daniel Snyder took ownership of this franchise, they've been an absolute disgrace for the better part of those 21 seasons. He bought the team in May of 1999. 21 seasons. Let's just break down some of this real quick. We have a record of 142 and 193 with a tie in there. We have 5 playoff appearances in 21 years. We have 2 playoff wins, both in the wild card round. We have 0 playoff wins since 2005. We have nine times in these 21 seasons they finished dead last in the NFC East. They've never won more than 10 games in this span. That's going back to 1999, 2005, and 2012. Never could sneak out an 11th win. Check out this, and I've detailed this in previous accounts of Dan Snyder's poor leadership and poor ownership. And when you rank, Dan Snyder we talk about different owners of certain teams. Dan Snyder is probably the owner's name that is most recognized in the NFL with doing it being bad at what he is supposed to be. Not that ownership is a job, but he's a bad owner. And I bring that up because whether it's the Detroit Lions, whether I've lamented what's going on in Houston for the past several months, they're bad owners too. But I'm not really sure that the general public knows who they are. But make no mistake about it, people know who Dan Snyder is because of the inept product that the Redskins have been putting out there for years. And check out this. Check out how many coaches have been recycled in and out of there. Marty, and some of them quite notable and quite successful at other places, I might tell you. Marty Schottenheimer, One season they let him go. Steve Spurrier, we know that was a disaster, but I mean, we got to give him credit. The man was a very successful coach in the college ranks. They brought back Joe Gibbs. That was one of those playoff appearances they had, but he ultimately couldn't get it done after 4 seasons. Jim Zorn, that was the worst hire of all of them. They elevated a quarterbacks coach to the position of head coach. That was a joke. You had Mike Shanahan come in there, 4 seasons, 1 playoff appearance, and then Jay Gruden, the most recent firing. And somehow, outside of Jim Zorn, I would tell you this was probably the worst hiring. I've said this jokingly on several occasions. I'm not sure how much of a joke it is. I'm not sure if Dan Snyder thought he was getting Jay Gruden or John Gruden. I'm dead serious at this point. But they gave, out of all these coaches, you will notice Jay Gruden got the most leash. He got more than 5 years. No, Joe Gibbs couldn't get 5 years. Mike Shanahan couldn't get 5 years. Some of these highly successful Super Bowl winning coaches, Marty Schottenheimer never won a Super Bowl. He always had the reputation he couldn't get it done in the playoffs, but I think he deserved more than 1 year. And how about some of these ridiculous, tragic free agent signings that we've seen? Albert Hainsworth, Adam Archuleta, Antoine Randall. I could go on, but those are just 3 of the ones that just come to mind when you talk about. And it's not just football. And we're now with this report that we're seeing, it's not just on the football field. It's the entire organization, to include any section you could think of, whether it be the business side, whether it be human relations, the hiring process, the media personnel, everything. It is an unmitigated disaster. And I'm at the point now, and this is my ultimate point in this, and I'm not even going to get into some of the actual allegations that came out with some of these women. And that's not that I don't want to get into that, because I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying this. And I think it's important during these times when we hear these type of stories that we lay this out. This is what is being alleged. This is what is being reported. I don't know what is true and what is not true, but I would tell you this. If there is a shred of truth to what is being reported and what is being alleged, Daniel Snyder should sell this team. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The product that they continue to put on the field, Washington Redskin fans, I've been to FedEx Field before. I've got friends. I've got some Redskin fans that are friends of mine. They deserve better. What we're seeing here and what we've seen for years, it is some ineptitude of the highest order. Think about here recently. The NFC East the past couple of years has been a 2-man race. The Redskins, and this does not involve the Giants, but those 2 teams, they aren't even involved. They're not even seriously considered. They are literal doormats. And the Redskins, to the greatest extent, and this actually predates the Daniel Snyder era. They haven't won a Super Bowl since the 1991 season. So when you add that in, it is almost 3 decades of pure football embarrassments. 5 playoff appearances. 2 playoff. You haven't won a playoff game since 2005, and now you have the Redskin name, and you will notice the name change. It's not centered, to me. It's not centered in virtue. It's not centered in what's right and wrong. This was a financial and business decision because sponsorships were being pulled. People were saying that's what it is. We all know what it is. Money talks. The Redskin name has been a controversy for years, and now we see that being changed. And it would be one thing if that was the only thing that's going on. I would also say, listen to this. The timing of this report and all these allegations coming to light, it's a tad bit interesting. You can interpret that however way you want to. I just find it interesting that you have the name change, and then all these allegations of misconduct in this report. It's a little interesting to me. And listen to this. If you don't believe Daniel Snyder should sell this team, I would respond by telling you this. A couple years ago, Jerry Richardson of the Carolina Panthers, the owner for the Panthers, some of those allegations that There was some racial things that were going on down there. There were also some sexual harassment type things that were happening as well. And those allegations, some of them were directly at Jerry Richardson. So you can tell me, yeah, there's a difference there. But how about this? Some of these folks, Alex Santos, former director of player personnel, I believe, Richard Mann, a former assistant director of player personnel, and Larry Michael, the radio play-by-play man, and a senior vice president. So if you read the reports, what we're seeing is some of these folks were directly in the inner circle of Daniel Snyder. So although it's true that we don't have any allegations against Daniel Snyder or Bruce Allen, who was the team president for 10 years, to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At some point, you have to be held responsible for the failures of your product, your franchise, and your organization. Jerry Richardson was held accountable. And let's not forget, on the football field, the Panthers were not a laughing stock. Just 2 years prior to Jerry Richardson having to sell the team, they were in the Super Bowl. They actually put out a real football product that people in Charlotte could be proud of. Not so in Washington. And then, listen, the allegations that came out in this report, they ranged from 2006 all the way up to 2019. Think about that. So it's not like this is something that, you know, a couple seasons we had problems. No, this is about 75% of the time that Daniel Snyder has had control. And I will take you a step further. This is an opportunity. Roger Goodell has a real opportunity right here. He should act in a way. He needs to utilize the full power of his office to get Daniel Snyder out of there. They already got the minority owners, what I believe they hold about 40%. They already want to sell. Everybody needs to sell. Sell the team, and this is an opportunity. We talked about this with the Rooney Rule and the lack of diversity in the coaching ranks and the general manager ranks. And what conclusion did we come to? It starts at the top. It starts at ownership. Make the team up for sale. Let's get a black group of folks to get in here and buy the team. I don't know who that would be. I don't know if it's Oprah. I don't know if it's Kanye. I don't know if it's P. Diddy. I don't know who. But you want to affect change, and you want to get minorities in these positions so you can. The only way you do that is from the top down to me, because we talked about it. If you got qualified folks for these positions, I think it's a natural thing for you to pick someone that looks like you, right or wrong. So that's where I'm at. And also my last point, some of these folks don't deserve this. And I'm talking about Ron Rivera, Dwayne Haskins, and Chase Young in particular. Ron Rivera was caught up in the situation of Jerry Richardson. And in my belief, that was the first domino that led to his dismissal from Carolina. New ownership, new regime, new rules. That's what happened to him. Great football coach. And now, before he's even coached a down for the Washington Redskins, if what I'm saying, if my position, if what I'm saying occurs and Daniel Snyder is forced to sell a team, I think it's going to be tough for Ron Rivera either way. And I'm wondering if he's rethinking his decision to come to the Redskins for what we assume was he got more control than just a head coach. I imagine he's got a significant say in personnel, if not all, because they didn't replace Bruce Allen, if I'm remembering this correctly. As opposed to going to the New York Giants or Dallas Cowboys, who were better choices, better employment spots as far as I'm concerned, better ownership. And he chose not to do so. But Dwayne Haskins and Chase Young, some of their young players, they don't deserve this. It's a shame, but in the end, Daniel Snyder should sell this team. And if he doesn't, the Redskins are going to continue to be god-awful in every way imaginable.
Real quick, Bruce Allen was fired after the 2019 season. They don't have a GM right now.
Appreciate you. Got you.
Listen, you know, Jay pretty much laid out everything that could be said about this. I don't really have anything to really say a whole lot, but I'll say this. It does remind me of a saying that's always said, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I do understand people are going to say these are allegations. You can go ahead and kick rocks with these allegations. This is true. How do I know it's true? Because you wouldn't have minority owners saying, "Hey, I'm out. I'm trying to give up my stocks." Like, do you understand how hard it is to own an NFL team? To have stocks in the NFL team? How rare? Not how hard, but I guess say how rare it is to have stakes, enough stakes where people actually value anything you do or say in an NFL team. It's only 32 of them. That's why once you give up those stakes, you can never own another NFL team again because you only get one crack at it. So if you got minority owners saying, "I'm out, I want to get my stakes, I just want to sell my part, go on by my business," it's probably a reason why. That's the bottom line. When you have sponsors, FedEx, Pfizer, these sponsors saying, "Listen, you do know if you don't change the name, that's about 800 million walking out the door, right? Try to run your team without it." Yeah. So with all that said, Jay laid it out on the field and off the field. My thing is, hey, Roger, if this was a player, you would have had both feet knee deep in his butt by now. If this was a player that was getting accused of any of this, that player would be on the chopping block. So let's not drag our feet there, Roger. Let's go ahead and take care of business. And let's be honest here. If it was a year that you could get away with abusing your power, this is probably it. Go ahead and abuse it. Go ahead and crack that whip, per se. Hey, don't take that as punishment. But you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and listen. You got Jerry Richardson out of there, and we applaud you for it. It can't be that hard to get old Snot out of here. And just like Jay said, and this was a fantastic point he made, the Redskins suck anyway. So you ain't got to worry about like killing a franchise that's good and then they got to rebuild themselves. Look, this is already ground zero, and they ain't talking 911. You dig? So, you know what I'm saying? Let's start this thing over. Let's get them out of here. These allegations are ridiculous. This is not how professionals handle themselves. This is not how I think the NFL want to be looked at, handling themselves. I mean, it was enough that you're going back and forth about the name, but then you got all this other stuff. And like Jay said, the only thing we know about these teams is what they want us to know, what someone wants us to know. So it's someone out there that want us to know that all this is happening, and that's for a reason, because it's time for a new leadership. We closing for new management, and that's what pretty much this information getting leaked. That's pretty much what it's about. So, listen, let's go ahead and get this ball rolling, and let's get this new name going, this new stadium, because your stadium just as old as your attitude, and let's get it done. And so I'm with Jay on that. I'm not gonna harp on it anymore. And look, it's time to do some spring cleaning outside of Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera deserves to, make his own mark. But the rest of these guys out here, spring cleaning. Go ahead and get them out of here.
Yeah, this was definitely quite the bombshell. We started getting rumors and rumbles like earlier this week that more news was coming. Like we had heard about the name change, and then some of the beat reporters and like local reporters were saying, "Hey, something else is down the pipe, and y'all are gonna forget about the name change. Y'all are gonna forget to come up with a new name. This is gonna be this big." And it turns out this is what it is. And like both y'all preface with, this is just, it's a report. They're allegations. They're being investigated. Nothing is like set in stone. But for what it's worth, Alex Santos, Richard Mann, Larry Michael, the three guys that Jay mentioned earlier, they were all fired between a while back. And I think Michael may have been fired earlier, but Santos and Mann were fired on Sunday, July 12th, before all this hit. And the Redskins knew about it.
And what I read, they all departed the organization within the past week.
Okay, so it was recently. Okay, so yeah, so all three of these guys were getting cleaned out, and that wasn't just, hey, whatever, we're just doing this to do it. Like, you got to think there was some kind of relation there. Like you said, Drink, when there's smoke, there's fire. And Right. Okay. I see. Yeah. All three of these guys are parted within the past week. So a lot of these allegations are wild, and they range. There's a long ranging difference in them. I read a story by the Athletics' Rhiannon Walker. She covers Washington as their beat writer, and she told a story about with a meeting with her and Alex Santos at a bar where he was just being really creepy and making all these advances, despite him being married and her saying she was seeing somebody, and he kept making these like disparaging remarks about her appearance and put her hand on her at one point. Like after several pushbacks of, hey man, like, you know, because she has to ride that line of, you know, this is the team's director of player personnel. I need to be in a good relationship with him to do my job, but I can't if you're acting like this. And, you know, she talked about how long it took to get back to where she could even do her job at all, and how much she sat out last year's free agency period because of what that meeting did to her and her, you know, the way she had to approach the team and approach him. And that was one of many examples, you know, and at the end of the day, all of us have a military background, and we know how serious this topic is in the military. It's insidious, and it can get into the ranks and into commands. And we've seen it even recently in current events with the military of how this culture can take hold, and if it's not rooted out, and it starts at the top. Whether Dan Snyder had anything to do with this or not, he still put these people in their positions of power. Even if there wasn't a single allegation against him, these are your buds, these are your chums, these are people you associate with. So don't, and by the way, don't give me some crap like you don't know what's going on at all. Like that feigned ignorance thing is great if you're not the owner, but when you are the owner, you don't get to play that card. Sorry, man. So just like y'all said, I mean, this is something, this top brass, top to bottom, clean them out, clean everybody out. You keep Rivera, you keep a few other guys maybe you've hired this season, but this can only be rooted out at the top level and swept all the way down and cleaned out. Open the doors, open the windows, get the pressure washer, blast all this out. And you know, again, if it's all true, and start from scratch. And I think that's what's coming. We all agree that's probably what's coming in Washington.
Hey, I'm Angela. I am the owner of Soul Food and Trap Music LLC. If you're in the Huntsville, Alabama area, I provide catering and meal prep services. If not, I am on YouTube. You can check out some of my yummy recipes. I am also on Facebook and Instagram. Check me out.